Hello and welcome back to another episode of. There's another fucking video related to the series on the channel, and we haven't done anything else in months. But yeah, welcome back. Don't get used to this. But we're back with part 2 of the previous podcast, I guess. If you haven't seen the first part, I suggest going back and watching that. Hearing Marley's thoughts on all that and everything, like arcs 1 to 3, all that. And I mean, I guess if you don't care, if you're already caught up, all that, we can just continue from here. But yeah, so welcome back. So today, our topic is minimized to a singular arc. But luckily, I don't think it'll be short, because I think there's going to be a lot to say about this. So, yeah, today we're going to be talking about Arc 4 and your opinions on everything that has transpired in it and everything. Would you like to start us off properly?
Sure. I know you gave the spoiler warning
Oh, yeah.
last time. Did you want to do that again?
I mean, I guess, yeah. Spoiler warning for people who haven't seen the second season. I'd almost say I recommend watching it. I don't. Okay, well that's a slight lie. It'd be fine to watch it, of course. I'd recommend checking cut content after, of course.
Yeah.
But, yeah. If you haven't seen season 2 already and all that, I would just say go watch it, whatever it may be. Maybe save this podcast for later. Once you're done that, you know. But we're going to be going into shit that is spoilery, of course, for Arc 4 / Season 2. Past Episode 1, of course. But, I mean, I guess that's another thing, is we're also, of course, going past Episode 1 of Season 2, so if you stopped halfway through the last podcast, I don't recommend still staying, of course, for obvious reasons. Yeah, and we're not going to go into anything else other than that until maybe the next, I'd say, episode, where we might discuss, or at least I might mention a few things not spoilery, but also kind of spoilery, you know what I mean. It's stuff I've already told you, I know.
Yeah. And we'll probably talk about, like, my opinion. I'm assuming we'll talk about my opinion on, like, certain things, like arcs.
Yeah.
Like, not arcs in general, but, like, favorite things and such.
Yeah. But yeah, with the warning out of the way, alright. I think you can go ahead then.
Okay, so I actually need a little help, because I'm not gonna lie. The beginning, oh yeah, that's right, never mind. I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember how it's, oh yeah, right, okay. The start was a lot, I think the start was really good, in the fact that, like, I mentioned in the last one, how Arc 3 start I really liked, but it felt really slow. Like, it had to build up all these elements, right? And that was fine. Because it had to build up, like, the things like, you know, the attack, and then it had the whole thing with, like, it had to do the stuff that happened with, like, Goose and, I guess since we're on to this one, I can call him that.
You can say whatever. At this point, we can say whatever.
Yeah, at this point, I could say his name how I want. Because, yeah, we're on this arc. Yeah, the building up with, like, the whale, and, like, he had to meet Otto, and all that. There was all that kind of build up. And the start here was quite interesting, because it had some build-up, but it didn't need to build too much, and the build-up just kind of... It felt like it transitioned perfectly into, like, the, next area itself. and just where we needed to kind of be and go from. It felt it kind of like transitioned well there. So I really kind of liked that right at the beginning. Oh man, there is like so much to unpack in this arc. I'm just like my brain. My goodness. Frederica came in. She seemed pretty cool from the get-go.
Something I want to add, actually, just about her that I want to mention, because I haven't mentioned this myself before and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say it.
I mean, put this on mute before I forget.
I guess, oh yeah, I should actually as well.
Random meowing.
Yeah, I'm going to mention this, and I guess it's quote-unquote spoilery, but it's not really. At least I don't feel that way. Like, I don't feel like it's a spoiler to say this, really. But I trust Tepe in his writing. I trust what he'll do. But for the most part, there's some things that I'm getting close to right now that I'm a little bit iffy on. But for the most part, I'll trust his writing. But I will say it's really fucking unfortunate that Frederica gets almost nothing after. Not even almost nothing. She has had nothing
after this.
Yeah. She gets, and the worst part is she didn't even get much here. Her biggest thing here.
Her brother got more.
Yeah, like the biggest thing she gets here is, okay, she fought Marley, the person who isn't strong, but has the power to control maw beasts to a limit. So it's like, okay, you fought somebody who was, I guess, kind of strong, but like, that's it. That's all she gets.
That's unfortunate, because it's like, as you know, one of the maids at the manor, it's like Rem and Ram have both gotten a good amount of screen time so far.
They
and it's like, I'm sure they're gonna get more. I'm sure they've gotten more and are gonna get more. So it's like, I expected, shocked to hear you say that, because I expected Frederica to kind of be in that same boat, or maybe not as like high up as they are with like them getting a lot, but I'd assume she'd still have to be involved sometimes.
Yeah, like, I mean, the only thing
kind of like, I guess Beatrice wasn't really involved in the last arc, but she was involved. She's involved here. She's involved in arc 2, and it's like, that's kind of what I thought would happen with her, because she's not like the two sisters and the two sister maids, and they seem like they're gonna be, more important than her. But I assume Frederica would have gotten more still.
The one thing I could understand as an excuse, possibly, if he
that's weird.
If he decides to mention it, the one thing I could understand as an excuse is because she is, technically speaking, the proper like maid at the mansion now. Because seeing as Rem is gonna get nothing accomplished because she's fucking comatose.
Yeah.
And Ram is now kind of that replacement in a way of like this character who's tagging alongside and everything.
She's kind of the one at the mansion who has to take care of everything.
Yeah, that's the one excuse I could see. I feel like she'll probably get more, but if she doesn't, I could see that being the excuse.
That at least makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Like that's the only thing I can think of for that.
I hope even so that she'll get more like later on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I said that twice. But yeah, that's just the impression I got. But I guess I mean a lot of stuff's happened at the mansion and around the mansion too, so it's like it just seems like something that's going to it just seems like she should be getting a bit more time eventually, even if it's like just some, but she probably will. It would not make sense if she wouldn't.
Yeah,
but yeah, she seemed really cool. It was I liked how like Petra's now a maid.
Yeah.
Like a maid in training. Honestly, that'd be kind of, maybe that's how Frederica gets some time later on.
Possibly. I would have
unless Rem is, wakes up. then maybe, hey. Yeah.
It depends.
Yeah. But but yeah, that was kind of neat to find out. And then they went to the sanctuary. That encounter was interesting because they had that whole conversation about like they haven't returned and everything, and then okay, we gotta go to the sanctuary and figure this out. Like, why haven't they come back? So they go, and Subaru gets pulled into this weird kind of like dream world that seems like it's in between dimensions or something. I don't even know.
It's somewhere.
Yeah.
We don't know if it's just this fake place, if it's like...
And there's someone there, and I'm like, who the heck is this? Is this like, I don't even remember if they mentioned it before, like earlier on when they were talking about what the sanctuary is. I don't think so. I think I don't think we only found out what it is during this conversation or after. I can't remember. But yeah, there's this person just sitting there at a table with tea, and I'm just like, who are you? Probably someone important, but who are you? And then we find out she's the Witch of Greed, and I'm like, oh!
Who also, because of like me reading cut content notes, he already knew her name beforehand and everything, and it was just kind of building up to this moment.
Yeah.
I will say, for me personally, you were like confused as fuck as to like who she was, why she was there, all that, and why she looked like Regulus and all that. By the way,
yeah, she looked like Regulus, and I was like, what the heck?
Like, really weird. It's odd that she looked like him, and I don't think that's like gonna be some like proper plot line or anything, but it's just like,
could be.
It's a bit funny.
Hee hee ha ha, they're related.
Yeah, like,
that'd kind of be funny.
I kind of doubt it, but I will say my personal reaction to when I first saw that and everything is like, she had mentioned to like, oh, I'm the Witch of Greed and everything, and I sat there and I paused the episode and I was shouting to myself like, oh, fucking Witch of Envy. Yeah, there's 6 others. I had the biggest fucking brain blast. I had the biggest fucking like brain blast of like, oh my god, right.
Yeah. I didn't realize that. I just assumed Witch of Envy was like the single thing, and for whatever reason, there's the archbishops who like have the rest of them. So I was like, okay, interesting. That's an interesting way to do the concept. Why? Don't know. We'll find out. No. There's a witch of greed. There's a witch of all the others. Nope. Yeah, she explains all the others, and I'm just like, there it is. That makes sense. I mean, it was interesting before, but then this definitely made it more interesting because it's like there's all these witches, and that I wasn't expecting that to just like happen so suddenly.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing. It was just, it was a, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit. Because I know that was something. And then there was a whole conversation between them, and that was interesting about like, liberating the sanctuary, and she was just kind of explaining a bit of what to do. I think.
That's very loud.
I think she explained a little.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you have to take the trial, and I'll let you take the trial.
She mentions the trials and everything. I don't think she says like he has to take it. What she does is she gives him permission to take it, but she just mentions the trials and all that. Yeah.
But yeah, that whole thing was very interesting to like find out about all the witches and everything else, and then he goes back and Garf shows up and is very angry, as he generally is. I wasn't huge on his character early on, but he got so good. We'll get into that later. But
from what I understand about him, which the anime oddly like changed in a way, but from what I was told by a good friend, Uh, Garf isn't huge on killing and all that, despite what the anime will almost make you believe with the way he acts. He's very hesitant about it, but from what I understand, he's very protective and shit like that. There's a whole thing about his character that it's like, it essentially explains, he's not gonna just like outright kill somebody just because he feels like it and all that shit. And all that. Also, I want to mention about Garf, because I want to mention me watching it as well, and all that. But around the time I was watching it, I was watching part 5 of JoJo with you. I mean, I had already seen it, but I was just showing him. And then I also, a few months back, had played Yakuza 7 and all that. So there's a correlation here. Because, I get to this episode, I get to whatever it is, like episode 3 or something of Arc 4. And I'm watching it. By the way, I'm watching subbed, just to add on to this. And I hear Garf's voice, and after the fucking, Yakuza 7 and then watching part 5 with you, I sat there and I had to put my hand on my face. I'm like, yeah, of fucking course that's his voice, yep. I was not surprised at all. It's a little bit, I mean, okay, I'm not gonna say like, oh, it's like so fucking sad that we didn't get to, but it is a little bit saddening that like we didn't get to hear his like sub voice, because my fucking god, may not enjoy the certain character he's associated with a lot, but that VA is very good. Anyways, continue.
Yeah, right. So there's the whole thing. They get there. They find out that, hey, Roswald got injured for trying to take the trial. Demi-humans can't escape.
Demi-humans can't leave, but...
Or can't leave.
Okay, hold on, let me try and remember. Demi-humans can't leave, but they can take the trial.
Yes.
Humans can leave, but they can't take the trial. That's what it is. Unless, of course, given permission.
Oh. Something just clicked.
What?
Just about, well, Echidna.
You could just say
because she doesn't like demi-humans.
Yes, she's a fucking...
And I'm like... So she's forcing them to go through the pain, and everybody else can just leave as they wish.
This is what I like. I tried to.
Oh my god!
I tried to.
I just took that in.
This is what I tried to mention to you before, and everything is she's a fucking like, her hatred towards Amelia is a little bit different than that reasoning, right?
Yeah,
but
there's obviously something.
She is super fucking racist, in terms of a character and all that. And I do like that, because that does add on to how much of an actual fucking bitch she is. But yeah, that's the whole thing about, like, she is part of, not the main reason, but part of the whole reason that huge fucking demi-human war a while back broke out, because she set up this influence of just, hey, these people suck. Alright, that's it, I'm leaving. And that was it.
Yeah. But yeah, so they're kind of in a rough spot there, and that was interesting. And honestly, I was at this point while watching it, I was a little concerned, because I sat here thinking like, oh man, like this means they're kind of just gonna be stuck in this area. And it's going to kind of feel... I was worried about getting the same feeling that I did in Arc 2 with, a few minutes in a couple episodes feeling too samey. Mm-hmm. And kind of like a little boring because of it. I was worried about that here at this point. Like, oh man, they're stuck in the sanctuary and they've got to figure stuff out. And I'm sure there's going to be moments that are going to feel that way. Mm. Fuck. Thankfully, that did not happen once. It did not happen at all. I was very happy. I was very pleased. It totally shocked me. But I guess the next thing that happened was, like, Amelia went to take the trial. Subaru went in rushing after her because she was, like, having trouble. And then he passed out. And he took his trial.
Which he didn't know about because the whole conversation got erased, all that shit.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. Their conversation got erased, so he had no idea. So that was another part of it. And his trial was very interesting. I actually really liked it.
Yeah, no, that episode
Like
was
that
fantastic.
was so touching. There was a whole thing about the mayonnaise there too.
Yeah, no.
But that's where the mayonnaise came from.
Yeah, no, I was like, keep that in mind. And we watched the whole season, and you're like, I don't know why I was keeping the mayonnaise in mind. I'm like, keep it in mind.
Then we watched OVA 1, and it's like, oh, there it is. There's the mayonnaise.
Yeah.
Oh, no. OVA 1's... I watched OVA 1 after... Oh, right, we're talking about the OVAs after this one. I forgot.
We can just shove it in here, because there's not much to say about the OVAs compared to the actual arcs, I'd
True.
say.
But one of the things was OVA 1 has a lot of fucking... foreshadowing to Arc 4,
Yeah.
especially. So it's like... It was honestly worth watching it after this.
Yeah. Because I will say, like, a lot of... I might have mentioned this on the previous one. But a lot of, like, my buddies and everything had watched it after Arc 2. And I mean, that's not bad. That's technically speaking the correct place in the timeline to see it. But I will say the problem is a lot of it isn't actually... Like a lot of it just doesn't make sense until you've seen Arc 4 and all that. And, and like, stuff related to that, excuse me. And... Yeah, in my opinion, it's like it doesn't hit as hard as it would. Now that said, I don't know when the side story was made. Like, I know the fucking stuff about, like, oh, Wilhelm's past and everything is, like... I think that was made around the time that the White Whale section of the novel came out, and if that was close to what the web novel was at, which is kind of how it is for right now, I don't know if that's how it was in the past, but if it is, then I guess there was also foreshadowing there and stuff like that, because there's one of the Ryuzus there and everything. So it's like, I guess, you know, there might have been some foreshadowing just in general, and maybe it's not that bad. But I don't know. Overall, I feel like it doesn't, like, hit as hard and everything like that. I will, like, you know, speaking of that backstory shit, that wouldn't have meant shit to me if I just saw that before going to Arc 4. Whereas, you know, seeing Arc 4, all that, then reading that, I'm like, oh shit, okay, I know that character. Or, like, I guess multiple versions of that character. Anyways, him taking his past trial, all that.
Yeah, that was a really good episode. It was really touching.
Yeah.
And it just had a lot of, like, really good moments about Subaru's character. Like, I liked his character a lot more ever since that episode. Like, I've always liked his character, but his character just became so much better after that episode. Because you could kind of see, like, what he struggled with, and you could see him, like, overcoming it and everything, and that was really, really good.
It's also a nice thing because, like, I know some friends of mine and everything were complaining, like, oh, how come we don't get to see, like, his parents and stuff like that, and how, like, they would react. Like, they mentioned that was the common problem with isekais. And then I had mentioned to them, I'm like, you know what? Do me a favor, just keep watching.
Yeah.
But I will agree with them to an extent that, yeah, there are a decent amount of shit like that where it's like, you know, there's no family or anything for that person, like, nearby or anything, and that's just a, like, part of it that's close is you don't learn how, like, people in the real world are reacting to this and all that.
Yeah. But yeah, so he completed the trial. He got...
Sorry,
what?
I just want to say, this is something important, but I just want to mention it. In case anybody's curious, while we were watching that episode about the past trial and everything, I did happen to notice a dirty cup in the sink. I don't know if that was done on purpose or not, but if it wasn't, that's crazy. If it was, I gotta give White Fox some credit for that. Alright, continue.
What? Now there's a dirty cup in the sink that's important? I gotta keep that in mind now. Alright, thanks. Fuck. But yeah, he finished the trial. I think he got to meet her again. Right after it.
He talks to her after he's done everything, and she mentions the whole shit about like, oh, what about like if your parents are like this or whatever. Like she makes a whole bunch of hypothetical shit, and he's like, shut the fuck up.
Mm.
But yeah.
I thought he met with her again though, like in that like grassy area where they had tea.
That's not until later. I think. Yeah.
I can't remember where that is. That's why.
That's after the rabbit.
Second meeting's after the rabbit?
Yep.
Oh. I thought that was a third meeting.
Nope. There's a third meeting technically, but like, it's not that one.
I see. All right. Where was? Oh yeah. So, yeah, I think this is where like I'm a little more lost.
I know everything, so I mean I'll be fine.
Okay, so he comes out of the trial. He succeeded.
Meanwhile,
Emilia's like in shock, and he just kind of like helps her.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is where I need some help.
Yeah. So
because like everything else was kind of. Yeah, I just don't remember it right now.
From here,
I didn't remember the beginning too, but then I remembered it instantly.
From here, it's the whole thing of he mentions that he was able to take the first round and pass it. I don't remember if this is where he asks if he can take it on or not. I don't think it is, because I think that happens later.
I think so too. I'm not mistaken.
I think that's the second time. But yeah, that whole thing happens, and I think from there they're like, okay, you know what? We're gonna take the villagers, and we're gonna shove them back into their homes and everything because they're humans and all that.
Oh wait, that is what happened first. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
yes. That's right.
That's right. There because of the shit that went down in Arc 3.
Yeah. So he went back to the manor, and the villagers went back. Right.
Yeah.
But when he went back to the manor, it was very creepy.
Mm-hmm.
He was just walking. He was fine. And all of a sudden, he falls. He's like, what the heck? He's bleeding. And you just hear a voice, and I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
And she's back.
So
and
the funniest thing for me was...
The first loop.
The funniest thing for me was I watched Arc 2 and 3, and like, when I watched Arc 2 and 3, or at least like, you know, pre-season 2 Arc 3, My biggest thing was like, you know, this series is pretty good and everything, but I'm worried that it might have some inconsistencies here and there and everything, because I'm like, the first villain that was established has yet to come back, and then, you know, I get 5 episodes into season 2 and I go, the first villain that was established came back.
Yeah. Well, where'd my brain just go? But yeah, so she's back, and yeah, the first loop, and he loops back to, you know, right after that trial. So that's his checkpoint, and I'm pretty sure that's like the checkpoint for the entire arc.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's like the checkpoint for the entire arc. So there's that. I think this second time around is where they kidnap him.
No.
No?
Second time around is where he mentions like he wants to take on the trial for Amelia and all that.
Okay, that is where
everything's kind of different because they don't agree with him. Even Garth, who originally asked him, like, you know, you should be the one to do it and all that. Because they mentioned Amelia probably can't do it and everything. Amelia's all sad and upset about that, like him saying that. I don't remember if there's any conversations with Roswell here and there. There might be.
I think so. I think this is where the first Roswell conversation kind of happens.
Yeah, I don't... Oh!
I think that's why things are a little different.
I was about to say, I don't remember what happens, and then my brain, like... Yeah, I know he talks to Roswell and all that. And talks a bit more about the situation from what I remember.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first time we get to see it, and it's a painful scene. But, you know, he gets close to Roswell, and Ram walks in front of him, and all that. Oh, yeah, because I think he's trying to get, like, help with the mansion, I think. I don't remember fully, but I think it's something like that. And then, you know...
I feel like that was a little later.
Hold on. I'm getting to my, like, why I think this, or think this because I fucking can't remember. But, yeah, you could also just go to the episode. I don't know if it shows. Sorry, it's scrolling down and I'm reading and I'm just like looking. What am I doing? Yeah, but I think this, like, he mentioned some shit to Roswell, I think, and that's when Ram steps in front of him, and then he mentions Rem and all that, and, you know, you get the reaction out of her and everything. That's quite the scene. I think it's this loop, at least, that happens. And then I think this is when he goes back. Yeah, this is when he goes back for the second time, I believe. There was an anime. You're looking at the light novel. You go back down. You go back up. It said anime right there. On the adaptations. There you go. I didn't realize it's sorted by discs. Well, still.
That's fine. So we just hit that. This is one of these two? One of these two. Let's just go
it's
one
either
of
the
these
previous
two.
one or this one.
That's what I'm...
You know, we're just really just... You know what? No. You know what? Let's pull up the episode count.
Okay. I mean, that can kind of tell me where we're at, but I know there's a whole... No, wait. I think I know what happens.
Okay.
Kind of. Yeah, that's where he mentions Rem. You're right. And
Yeah.
we get her reaction, because I don't think the other thing happens yet.
Yeah.
He goes back to the mansion. He goes back to the mansion with Otto, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
No?
No. Ram.
Okay, he goes back to the mansion with Ram. Sorry. I thought Otto went, but yeah, no, I guess it was Ram. He goes back. He goes back to the mansion with Ram, and I think the four of them try to do things.
He talks to Roswell about going back to the mansion, and he's a little bit suspicious about Frederica. Roswell mentions if she's up to something like Subaru's incapable, so then I think he mentions the whole thing with Beatrice to like save that person and all that.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Then they go with Ram there. Blah blah blah. They meet. They see Petra. All that. They have a talk with Frederica. Frederica has. It's clear that she's had a talk with like her master and everything, but has no involvement with the shit going on and everything. Like clearly doesn't have any malicious intent.
And then our first villain is back again.
Yeah.
At Petra's throat.
Yeah.
Poor Petra.
And then now the big quote unquote fight happens.
Yeah.
Which.
And I think this is also where, after all that fighting happens, if I'm not mistaken, this is where, when he goes to Beatrice...
Well, no. All of them fucking die, except for Subaru.
Yeah.
And he goes to open the door because Elsa's about to attack him, and he's, like, trying to protect Rem. And that just so happens to be the room that Beatrice is in.
Yep.
By the way, my first watch through, I got fucking mad, like, at Beatrice as a character and everything. Like, not in terms of, like, oh, this is bad writing or some shit. Like, just mad in terms of, like, meh. But it was, like, I got mad for a similar reason to Subaru of, like, this is longer than before. this might be a new loop, and the door that Elsa just opened up was Rem's, meaning she's now dead, and if this ends up being the new loop, she's permanently dead.
Yeah, I was worried we were getting some kind of new loop and Beatrice fucked shit up.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Like, I was concerned.
Mad. I was mad. By the way, in case anybody might dislike what I said there, the second favorite character, by the way.
But yeah, that happened, and I think that's also where she told Subaru that she was a spirit. Or was that where Subaru just dies on the floor?
No, that's when he dies on the floor. I don't even think that she outright
that
says anything spirit related, but I think it's just like it's where I think this might be where the shit with the book is.
Yes, he was like, "What's that book? Like, why do you have a a gospel?"
Yeah, and it's just empty.
And it's just empty. And then first villain comes in and stabs Subaru and
God, we're just calling her first villain.
I don't remember what her name is.
Elsa.
Oh, like the movie?
Sure.
Yeah, and then he loops again. All right, and my issue right now is I can't remember what order the loops were in, I guess.
I remember the order of the loops. There's so much info here and there that I don't remember everything.
Yeah, that's kind of hard.
In terms of it. But I know after this, it's like, okay, he gets stabbed, he comes back. When he comes back this time, this is when he gets tied up, I believe. Yes.
I mean, it's rabbit. That means this is the rabbit one.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I thought the Beatrice one happened first.
No.
Because I thought the rabbit one was the one where he got like completely mortified and was ready to give up.
The rabbit causes him to like try and talk to Echidna and all that. Like he's begging to talk to Echidna and everything. The Beatrice one is way later because that introduces my fifth favorite character.
Still don't know why.
You won't know for a bit. But that's one thing I will actually mention is, man, like, maybe less so Elsa. Elsa's pretty cool and everything, and I do I do think she's interesting because it's like, she's not I almost want to say she's not a psychopath because she wants to be, but she technically is that. But at the same time, because of her past, it's like, it's technically just she grew up in the shittiest situation possible, so yeah, it led to this. Like, even though it's like, oh yeah, but she was abandoned. It's like, sure, but she was abandoned in a place that was cold and was known for people being like thieves and just ruthless and all this shit. Like, she was abandoned in a really bad fucking country. So it's logical that she ended up the way she did. By the way, still going to be very mad if we don't get anything related to Gusteko in the main story. Because in case you're wondering, we haven't yet. I really do want it, even though, from what I understand, Tepe said we're probably not going there in the main story. I want it. But yeah, Elsa's neat and all and everything, but man, Marley and the other one, oh my fucking lord, they are some of my favorite characters.
Okay, so this is the one where, so yeah, in this next loop I know we're describing the loops a lot. I know I'm supposed to be sharing my opinion, but I kind of what I want to do is I want to I need to remember all the loops, and I want to kind of just cover them this way too, so I can kind of.
That's what I do with my reviews. I fucking recap like everything pretty much.
So I can just
and then I'm like, okay, now I'm going to talk about what I think about this.
Yeah. So once we're done with all these like loops, then I'll kind of share it because it's all like it. That's what I did with Arc 3, too.
Yeah.
So, mostly, because there was the one loop that happened later. Actually, no, two. Different ones.
But yeah, this is the rabbit stuff.
So this is the one where he gets called by, I think, after like talking to them about taking the trial or something, because I think he tries that again. Garf calls him.
Yeah.
And he goes to see one of the.
He's one of the Ryuzus.
I almost called her Rizu, and I'm like, nope, that's wrong. I'm missing like something.
He talks to one of the Ryuzus.
Yeah.
Don't ask me for which one. It's yeah. Don't bother asking me for which one.
It's hard. It's hard to remember all their names.
I remember two. I remember Shima for the Omega shit later. Or at least from what I remember, Shima is the one who becomes Omega. And I remember Sphinx because of the Wilhelm shit I just talked about. And only those two.
Is it Ryuzu Mayor the one who got banished?
Was it Mayor? Fuck, was it Mayor?
I think so.
Was it Mayor or was it Shima?
I don't know. It's one of the two, and then the other one is the other one. Because those are the two I heard the most, Shima and Mayor. So one of those two is there. The one with the white. The one that got banished. But, yeah, and Garf and her are kind of just talking to Subaru about what he wants and everything. And then she kind of, like, apologizes in a way for what's about to happen. And Garf just, like, grabs him, makes him pass out, and now he's, like, tied up and locked up.
Yeah.
And Garf is pissed.
The whole reasoning is Garf can smell the scent on him.
Yeah.
Which is still fucking weird, because of the whole thing of, like... I want to, like, just go into this a little bit here, with this, like, episode, but it's, like, the whole scent shit and who can smell it and everything is fucking weird because it's very selective on who it is. Like, Arc 2, you know...
Rem and Ram.
No, Rem and Beatrice can smell it. Ram cannot smell it.
Oh.
At least from what I remember, Ram cannot smell it. Rem and Beatrice can. Trying to think who else. I mean, obviously Garfield. I'm trying to remember if there was anybody
Because, yeah,
else.
like Amelia can't smell it.
Yeah, Amelia can't smell it. Ram can't smell it.
Hell, Frederica probably can't.
Yeah, Frederica can't probably. Otto, all these people. Like, a whole bunch of people. You know, none of the knights or anything.
It's interesting how it's selective. There's obviously a freaking reason then that we'll find out eventually, but it's interesting how it's selective.
It's like...
Because it's like, ooh, what? How come it's selective? There's definitely a reason behind this.
Yeah.
What is it? What's causing this? At least so far from what I just heard, it seems to either be... It seems to be the people who aid him. Who go from, like, either hating him to aiding him, usually. Generally. Beatrice, Rem...
Beatrice didn't necessarily hate him. She just found him as an annoyance.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really, like, much else.
And Garfield didn't really like him. And Rem was worried about her sister.
Yeah.
And troubles.
Mm. Well, no, Rem, smelled that scent and went, oh, well, I've smelled this before. Last time I smelled this, my sister lost her fucking horn.
Yeah. That seems to be something.
Yeah, I'd almost say, like, an association type of thing, but, like, Garfield has literally 0 association, so... And that also doesn't make sense, because then Ram would be able to, probably.
Yeah.
Unless she lost that with her horn, which I guess is a possibility.
Yeah, that's a possibility, actually. That actually kind of makes sense.
But it still doesn't make sense for Garfield. Because I don't know what the association would be there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think he saw Echidna when he originally took the trial, or there's no implication that he did. And I mean, if the whole trial thing mattered, then I feel like...
Amelia would have been able to smell it then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very weird, but it's also kind of like, I wonder, what is this? But yeah, so there's the whole thing where he gets locked up, Otto saves him eventually. He tries to get him out of the sanctuary. Garf chases them. Ram comes to help.
He dies within a minute.
Yeah, they all kind of like end up dying, and like his was Ground Dragon?
Patrash.
Yeah. Dies as he as it eats Subaru.
Yeah.
And then, like, you know, his
The crystal starts glowing.
yeah, the crystal glows.
It goes ahead like a day or two. Some shit.
And then there's just snow everywhere, and he's like, where is everybody, guys? And then we get the most gruesome death so far.
And the funny part is,
because we were talking about this last time about how there was one in this arc, and this is the one. The rabbits just, one of them. It's one of those.
The funniest part
because I guess we can say it because, you know, big three, because
yeah, I almost said it last time and I was like, oh shit,
because we're gonna find out about it like soon. Like we hear about it.
We literally talked about stuff at the end of arc 4.
I think we talk about it in the next loop.
Yeah, but also I said Omega, so
yeah. So like it's one of the big three mob beasts, and it ate everyone. It devoured everyone, and you just see it devouring Subaru, and like there's just blood everywhere, and it's like, oh my fucking god.
Funniest part about this, by the way,
squeaking so much.
yeah, it keeps squeaking it. I think this.
I'm not comfortable.
I mean, it's also me.
Yeah, that one's squeakier.
You know, look away for a moment.
I hate you.
I want to pull something up, and I'm a little bit worried if I go too far. Okay. Was it here? Might be earlier. It's earlier.
I guess I could talk about though one thing about that because
you can look.
I want to. I want to address this a little. What?
You can look if you want to. It doesn't matter anymore. Okay. Yeah, it is here. Sorry.
That's fine.
Yeah. So what I was gonna say. This is like. So you know this whole thing. What am I saying?
You think we have time for OVAs?
So yeah, you know the anime adapted the rabbit scene and everything, and this might be like it's weird because they actually kind of adapted it well. Because I'm gonna be honest, right? I'm gonna mention this with my next review and everything because I feel like I have to. I like the light novel art a lot. Right, I know some people don't like the more soft style on it and everything, and some characters look really similar and all that. I'm cool with it. I think it's whatever, and for the most part, I think a lot of characters look great, like with the light novel style and everything. But one thing I will mention is the light novel and web novel, text-wise, has the most like disgusting shit written down for the deaths. It is like some like horrid shit. Like it'll be some shit like, oh, Subaru gets his fucking head caved in and his brain matter spills out on the floor and everything and all this shit. And it fucking describes the whole scenario and I'm like, sick. All right, cool. And I like that they describe all that and everything because it's like it's really going in depth about it. But then you get the light novel art and what you get is blood.
Is that it?
That's it. And this is one of my biggest problems with the light novel art is a lot of the time it is literally just blood. There is like you don't see the proper injury that they mention or anything like that. There is one moment in Arc 6 where they actually show the whole thing properly. Like they actually show the legitimate thing going on properly. That I'm glad they did that because it's like, oh fuck, okay, they've proven that like this, you know, can happen with the art. I didn't know if it was just something limited or not, but no, it's like it can happen. I don't know why it doesn't normally happen. Now, why am I saying this? Very important reason. Because even the anime isn't really huge with this death. It just shows blood. But luckily, we have the third format of this series. And that's the manga. And sometimes, Like, I know for arcs 1 and 3, like, Daichi, like, the person who does the art there, also kind of uses blood for the most part, doesn't really go too much in depth with it. At least I don't remember seeing anything like that. But it's overall like that. But I do remember seeing some things of arc 2, and yeah, it's like okay, there's a chapter with arc 2 in the manga. I know I'm going like kind of off topic here, and I apologize, but I just want to speak about this. There's a chapter with arc 2 where, I guess because they had a different artist on board, I guess their plan was, okay, fuck it, let's just recap what happened with arc 1 really quick with this like chapter 0, and then we'll go into arc 2. First of all, there's a color spread on it of the like death that Subaru has via the Morning Star. Immediately from seeing that, I went, oh, that's half his head missing. I can see inside. Oh, and I was amazed, and I'm like, I have to keep going. And then it recapped arc 1, and Elsa cuts him, and then I'm like, oh yeah, those are intestines. Oh my lord. And I was like, it was weird because it's a disgusting thing to see, but at the same time, I was like slightly joyous, and I'm gonna sound like a psychopath for saying that, but I was slightly joyous that was happening because I'm like, holy shit,
it's not just blood.
Yeah, we're showing the injury. And then we get to arc 4, and this rabbit death happens in arc 4 in the manga, and oh my god, it's adapted correctly. He looks like a fucking husk afterwards. Like,
Jesus.
It's fucking great. Sorry, I just want.
No, it's fine. This was definitely the most gruesome death so far. Like, I mean, I know a lot of what you see is blood, but you see them you see them on top of him, munching him.
The one thing I'll give the anime is super credit.
It was like I said, that one death. I can't remember which one exactly. In the last arc, gave me some chills. This one,
third arc one where he stabs himself.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That one was that one. That rabbit one probably gave me as much, if not a bit more.
Yeah.
It's hard to determine.
I have to give the anime. I have to give the anime credit for that because it is. While it may be just blood, there is enough there almost with the sound design and almost a more intense OST playing and all that shit and the voice acting and all that it all rounds out to it's still a brutal scene even if we're holding back a bit and everything.
Yeah,
I'm actually curious,
and that's kind of what drove that to be oh god.
Yeah,
and it was when he woke up from that, I was I felt horrible for him. I was just I didn't feel that bad for him when he stabbed himself in the neck, because it's he was doing that on purpose to save Rem, and I know he obviously felt the pain, but it's okay, well he was just doing it to save someone there. I can understand that being more. It wasn't as gruesome because a lot of the other deaths were definitely more gruesome to him because he just gets cut, for example, or something else, right? Or the Morning Star just smashes his fucking leg and arm off. But this one was he was just getting munched on for a while. And I was just what the fuck? That was crazy. What? I feel bad for him. And I was not surprised in the state he was in after, where he was screaming for a kid enough to talk to her again. Because that was something and a half.
I can't find it.
Holy shit. Okay, so after that one, was it the one where he goes to the mansion again?
Well, okay, he talks to a kid, and he mentions the whole return by death thing, and then he speaks to the other witches, more specifically.
So he does, right, he does get to talk to Echidna. Right. Okay, yeah. So he talks to Echidna. He could say he returns by death, and it does nothing.
Except it did.
Except it did, but it didn't do anything to him. In that moment, it didn't do anything to anybody there because it couldn't reach him there. And so he just, like, screams it like crazy. Like, holy shit, he can actually say this and not have consequences. And in my head, I'm thinking, don't tell me there's going to be a consequence when he gets back. Nah, maybe. But he's just talking to Echidna. And yeah, he, like you said, he ends up kind of meeting a few of the other witches. Yeah, so he talks to the other witches. And then he ends up talking to Daphne, who tells him about the whale, the rabbit, the white rabbit, and the black serpent. So now we know there's a third one of that caliber.
We've already technically seen the third one, seeing as it was the OVA.
Yes. But I mean, when you look at it through the OVA, you can't really tell it's the third one.
I mean, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know.
But they do outright say it, I think. Like, they mentioned the black serpent and all that.
Oh, okay.
Like, you knew about it before the rabbit, I remember.
True. You know what? Yeah. Well, that's partially because you told me there was, like, a big three.
Yeah.
Once I met the whale.
Yeah, which, I mean, it was like it was whatever to mention.
Yeah.
But
I guess sometimes some people would kind of miss it. And sometimes some people wouldn't. But, yeah. Oh, we kind of, like, fight out about those three. And, like, I like her whole reason about, you know, sometimes the prey becomes the predator, and that's like what's been happening with these mob beasts, with these three big mob beasts. So it's very interesting to kind of like it was interesting to see him talk to some of the other witches.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say. But yeah, then he ends up going back, and the Witch of Envy is around?
Yeah.
Not her herself, but the thing that kind of like grabs him has somehow manifested into like a somewhat physical form, searching around for him because he said it so many times in the world that she couldn't reach him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that happened, and I don't remember what happened after that.
He takes the fucking handkerchief because Echidna, essentially Echidna knew this was going to happen.
Oh, yes,
so
that's right.
she's like, oh yeah, I'll take this, quote unquote. And she like taps the handkerchief and all that. And Subaru is then able to take it and essentially turn it into a blade and fucking stab himself. And then that creates another loop because he killed himself.
Oh, yeah, right. He has to kill himself to fix it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm guessing this is the Beatrice loop.
I think this is it, yeah.
This has gotta be it, because
yeah.
I don't think there's another one.
Yeah, go ahead a few episodes. I don't know how many episodes we talked about, actually, in terms of... yeah, we saw this part. This is the rabbit stuff. The next one.
Oh, right, okay, so part of the rabbit stuff was talking to Roswell about, you know, the witch cult, and then Roswell kind of explained that it was... and Roswell explains about like it was like a gospel and like the proper one and such. He kind of talked about that. No, there's still a couple other loops. Oh my god! Wait, because there's still the one where he.
What?
Isn't there the one where he does that?
This what? Yeah, no, this is after,
this?
This is after the Beatrice shit.
Okay.
Yes.
That's after the Beatrice one?
Yes.
Okay. I know there's also the one where... my god, there's so many loops!
Go to the next episode.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We're not on this one either.
Okay. Tea Party. Alright, there we go.
This is when it goes back. Oh, he finds the body of the real Ryuzu. This is where that happens.
Oh, yes, so he finds the body of the real Ryuzu. We should have had this open for the rest of the ones we were talking about, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
If we miss things, I guess it's okay.
I miss things on my reviews and people get upset. I'm joking. Nah, most of the time people don't mind, or at least from what I can tell, people don't mind.
There's a lot to cover. Oh, okay, so this is the one where... So this loop is where Subaru talks to Ryuzu about the creation of the sanctuary and about, like, you know, what happened with Ryuzu and Echidna and everything. And you learn about, like, the multiple Ryuzus and the cloning thing. I think Shima was the one that was banished. Or no, maybe it was Mare. I don't know. And then...
One of them.
I know near the end, it's where Garf confronts him, and Garfield is suspicious of him. Like, again, still. And then Garfield gets kind of physical. Yes, Garfield gets kind of physical because he's suspicious, but they have a debate between the two. Garfield lets him go.
Mm.
That's the one where he lets him go. And then Subaru goes to the mansion. He meets up with Frederica and Petra and kind of, like, tells them to, like, quickly leave, I think.
Yeah, he tells them to go to the village.
Yeah.
Like where
and
everybody else is at.
And then he runs to Beatrice, and then it ends. And then the next episode is the one with Beatrice.
Yeah, where she's talking to him and all that. And she's, like, asking him to kill her.
Yeah. Yeah, she's, like, begging him to kill her.
Yeah.
And he doesn't, and then there's the whole thing with, like, Elsa comes into the library.
She uses a shamrock and then they run out.
Yeah.
Then they get to the, like, bridge area, everything.
And that's
enter.
when... And then enter...
Melee.
Yes. With the Mob East Tamer. And... yes, okay, it's this one. Yeah, and then... Elsa ends up killing Beatrice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she sends before Subaru can die, because Subaru is badly injured as well. Because Subaru got badly injured during that. He got sent back to the sanctuary. She sent him back to the sanctuary, and he went to Amelia, and Amelia went cuckoo because he wasn't there to help her. And he just kind of, like, laid down on her lap, and she was all, like, crazy, like, Subaru, why'd you leave me? Just stay with me forever. And then he lies on her lap and loops because he dies. Yeah, that was that.
I zoned out for a second there. You talked about the shit with Roswell, right?
Which one?
The thing you were literally mentioning.
That didn't happen here.
That did happen here.
Well, it probably happens on the next loop.
No, it literally happens this loop.
Which loop? The one I just finished talking about?
Yes. Because that happens. Then Subaru goes back to Amelia, and that's when he rests his head down.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, no. Wait.
Yeah, see, it says it right there.
Okay. Okay. So after he puts it... So he... I thought he loops when he puts his head down on her lap.
He does. But
Oh.
this happens before that.
Okay. Okay, so before that, Roswell, Subaru and Garfield go to Roswell, talk to him. Garfield almost kind of gets rough with Roswell, but Ram steps in front of him, and, you know, Roswell just shoves his arm through the both of them.
Yep.
As you said, through the quote.
Yeah,
I'm
not saying it.
Yeah, no, it's fine. And then then Subaru goes and, like, puts his head down on. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
they're
She offers her lap to him, and then he puts his head down and passes on her lap and loops. Okay.
And they're killed for the whole reason of, I mean, like, first of all, and this was established with the whole, like, Satella appearing type of thing, or at least it's, like, kind of implied, but you especially see it here. He's well aware of the loops and everything.
Yeah.
And thus, having a proper conversation with Subaru is fine because, you know, he doesn't want anybody else to be in the room, but if Subaru loops, then those people will still be alive, so killing them doesn't matter. So he just kills them just to get them out of the way in terms of not hearing the conversation.
Pretty much.
Especially also because Garfield is a problem.
And I think this is the loop where a lot of it was a conversation with Roswell. Oh, right. Okay. So this is the one where now he calls for Echidna again, passes out, and ends up taking the trial? Wait.
Yes. He goes back in later.
So the thing where Roswell gets eaten by the white rabbit in front of him doesn't happen till after.
That happened on the previous loop we were talking about.
Oh, that was part of that loop? No.
Yes.
But that was where Amelia he put his head down on Amelia, and that's
Yes, Roswell gets hit by the rabbit, so does Subaru. Subaru walks back to Amelia.
Oh, it's the same one. Okay. Sorry. Didn't understand that. Okay, so this is the part where the loops stop. Okay. Alright. Now it's a little more clear. Because, God, so many freaking loops, but I guess I can kind of talk about them before going into this, because I have a lot of things to say about, not a lot, but a decent amount to say about, like, what happens here, specifically. But the loops, holy crap, like, it was just, like, shit show after shit show after shit show, like, one thing after another, nothing was going right. I'm pretty sure that Roswell already mentioned, yeah, he did already mention that he was the one who hired them.
No, that happens later.
No? Okay, that is later.
That
okay.
is whatever.
That's fine. I thought it was here, my bad. Or, well, the last
it's
one.
It's like at the end of season 1. Or not season, like part 1.
So it's like after this conversation with Echidna and stuff again.
This is what, like, way, after the whole thing.
Man, there's like, there's a lot to unpack here, and I love it. And like, just from all the loops, you know? Like, the whole thing with Garfield going crazy because he's trying to protect the sanctuary, well, and the people in the sanctuary because of, you know, trying to protect the sanctuary because it was past, but also, like, how he feels about it, but, like, and then Subaru gets thrown in the loop, and just all the other loops with, like, with Beatrice, and Amelia going cuckoo that we just talked about, and, like, some of the others, like, at the mansions where he tried to save them, couldn't, the one where he just showed up at the mansion and just died. I'm sure I'm forgetting one or two loops, but, like, there was just so many loops, a lot to unpack. I feel like it was done very, very well, because it did not feel samey or anything like that, and it didn't feel... It had that feeling, to me, of the first arc, because while I did really enjoy Arc 3, I did... You know, the build-up was slow, which was fine because it worked really well. It made Arc 3 even better once we got to, you know, after most of the loops. Once we got to the point where we were going to fight the whale. Like, once we got to that point, holy crap, it got really good. But, like, what I really like about this was just the whole... I don't know, the loops just felt... They didn't feel samey. It didn't feel, like, slow, but they were still building up stuff. They were building up a lot. And it just felt very, very clean. Very clean, very precise, and very, like... tense. It felt very tense the whole time, too. Because of just... the window... the situation. He can barely bring anyone with him. Like, it was just all super tense. And then there were people against him. And that he thought were, like, allies. And it was just like, what is going on? It was crazy. But yeah, so all that happened. And then... And that's how I feel about it. I absolutely... I honestly really love these loops. But I mean, I like a lot of the loops, but yeah, I definitely really liked some of these loops. in particular, I think probably like the last one, and there was another I really really liked, but I can't remember. But anywho, yeah, he talks with Echidna. Again, I think. Oh no! He goes through the second trial. Right. What?
I was saying he goes for the present.
Yeah, he goes through the like unthinkable present thing.
Mm.
And it like almost breaks him. So somehow Rem shows up. Wait, that's not Rem. That's the Witch of Lust.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the Witch of Lust. Tried to save him, and she succeeded. And then they ended up in like, that area again where Echidna was. And if I'm not and then all the other witches show up, except for, the Witch of Envy, but all the other witches show up. And I know we did forget to cover this, but like Echidna mentioned like early on, that like when she brought up the other witches the first time they met, that the Witch of Envy, or is it no, Zatella killed them all, right?
Yeah, it's there's a lot of cut content stuff here and all that because Zatella shows up here and everything somehow and it's the whole thing revealed of there's two personalities, but the Witch of Envy is the evil one that they don't like. Zatella is the one that they do like, but did kill all of them and everything. Which
is weird.
Both.
Echidna doesn't like both of them. And it was interesting to find out, oh wait, they're all fine with her? Because I thought it was weird when she showed up too. I was looking at it like, they're okay with her?
Yeah. I will say, this is like the point with Arc 4 where I pretty much was like, yeah, no, Echidna's a piece of shit. Because there's a whole lot of stuff that she's responsible for and everything.
Yeah.
But the most minute thing to me, maybe not minute, but like the thing that really drove it home for me is after all this shit and everything and the contract she's trying to make with Subaru, which is like a really shitty contract, not a whole lot of benefits to it other than, I guess he kind of gets what he wants. But like the thing that really was just like, oh, you fucker, to me was the fact that like, Subaru asks her the final question of like, Beatrice, that person, all that shit. And Echidna just sits there and goes, oh yeah, I don't know. Like, it's such a fucked mentality to, and like she doesn't even, this is something to note, is from what I understand, Echidna does not think of herself as a bad person at all. Like she thinks that what she's doing is right because it like goes down the path of like, oh, all this knowledge can save people and everything and all that shit. But it's like, it's such a fucked mentality to have, to just be like, you know what, I'm gonna take my kid, shove them in this library, tell them, hey, wait for someone, I don't know who that is, wait for them though, and then leave, I don't know, die essentially, have your body die. And then it's like, yeah, they're just there now.
Yeah.
Like, that really drove it home for me.
Because I know that's what she mentions about Beatrice. I think she mentions it here, right?
Yeah, around here.
Yeah. I think Beatrice said a little too in the last, like, Blue, if I'm not mistaken, but...
Might have.
Not much, but like a teeny bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Echidna mentions that here. She mentions about the Ryuzus, I think, a bit. How, like, she was gonna...
I don't think she mentioned that. I think Ryuzu herself mentions that and everything, or something along the lines of that.
Okay. Couldn't remember. Yeah. But, yeah, so there's that whole conversation. She tries to get Subaru to agree to a deal that would have, like, just fucked everything over.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, Zatella comes in. Not the Witch of Envy, Zatella, which is interesting, and it's still kind of crazy, and I'm just like, I need to know what the heck's going on. I understand this split personality thing, like two different people in a way, but what the heck is going on? What is going on? But yeah, Subaru goes through all that. He's complaining at her about why she put him through this, and she mentioned that because she loves him and he showed her love and stuff, and I'm just like, what's she going on about? I'm confused. What's happening? Subaru just came here not long ago. What do you mean? What is going on? And yeah, just all that shit happens. He leaves, and then he's unable to take the trial because he declined Echidna's offer, and he goes to tell Roswaal, and Roswell's pissed off.
Yeah, but he just mentions, like, oh, you can get it back.
Yeah, he's like, you can get it beg to her, and that's when he tells him about, he hired the people, he hired Elsa to go...
Yeah. Specifically Elsa.
Yeah.
Marley was sent there by that third person that I mentioned, that... Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say, click on the next episode and all that. I think it's a few episodes you have to click on. I think it's after this. Because this is when he's talking to Roswaal, I believe.
I think so.
Yeah, because he gets punched by Otto here.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, at this point, he kind of, after talking to Roswaal, he's kind of given up. He didn't know what to do. He collapses in the forest, and then Otto punches him. And then I think we jump to the second part of Season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the part that I'd say is honestly a lot more fresh in my mind because it's we watched this thing in 2 sittings.
Yeah.
Because I thought the loops were good, and then I watched this and I went, holy shit, this is my second favorite anime or third favorite, and it's second. I don't I was talking to him about it today, but I don't think it's going to be first. After, letting things kind of calm down, which is why I didn't want to, jump the gun, obviously. But I considered it. And the only reason is I did feel the same way I did when I finished playing Persona 5 Royal, and that didn't change. I'm still unsure what, my favorite game is. Because both of the games that are, my top 2 are kind of, in that same spot of, I am actually still not sure. It's been several months. I don't know. I thought ReZero was going to have that same effect. It didn't, and part of me thinks I just need more of it, and then I'll be able to come to a conclusion. But I do really like a lot of what One Piece does still, so I don't know. And we still have the final saga and everything, and I need to see how the rest of everything for both kind of goes, I think, at this point. To have more of a clear decision, or at least more of things, which is more so for this anime that I would need to see more of then. But I think number 2 is pretty. I don't think it's going down, but I wanted to mention that. But this is this first half of season 4, arc 4 got me really excited, and I was enjoying it a lot. I think I moved it up a couple spots from it, but this second part is where it went from 6, because I think at first I did have it at 8 or 9 or 10, and then it went to 6 after the first part. This part is where it went to 2, where it went to 3 and then 2 immediately, and even the beginning with Otto, the whole thing about him hitting Subaru, and then kind of telling him you have friends, you have me. What about me? Did you not include me in any of this? Mm-hmm. Which I kind of thought was funny when the rest of the the season happened, because it's no, it seems no one accounted for Otto for whatever fucking reason, even though he was here.
He's the fucking butt of the joke half the time.
Yeah. It was funny in a way, and it's just it was funny, but it actually worked out so beautifully that Yeah, wow, okay, let's go. Things worked. So yeah, I think at that point he confronts Roswell. Yeah, he confronts Roswell and makes a bet with him about in this loop he's going to
Like pretty much
save the sanctuary and the mansion. If he doesn't, if he fails, he will make the deal with Echidna in, the next loop.
Yeah.
So he was making a bet with Roswell for that, which is important because, I learned something by the end of it, and that was, I can't wait to talk about that. But yeah, so that happens. He meets with Rom, and she scolds Subaru because he's putting faith in Amelia, but he has faith in Amelia, so... And he's like, I'm just not going to give that up. Yeah. He also confronts Ryuzu again? For what?
This might be when he talks to Ryuzu about the whole thing and everything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then she... Yes! And then... Yes. He confronts Ryuzu, talks to her, and she tells him about the original Ryuzu mayor, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so this is the story about the Ryuzu mayor, which was really interesting, because, I thought I thought there was something else before this, but no, that adds up. It adds up. Yeah, it was really interesting to kind of see that, Beatrice, Roswell, and Ryuzu all together, basically, working under Echidna. So it's everything is kind of tied together in this arc really well, too, which is also why I really like it. And the story wasn't really interesting. We didn't hear the whole thing here, but because that happened after Amelia's backstory.
Mm-hmm.
I remember why now.
Yeah.
But she does share a bit about her meeting Beatrice, and then her kind of following Beatrice, or Beatrice was following her or something. And Echidna kind of invited her in. I do think Roswell might have been there. No, he wasn't. I think. I don't know. Roswell, I think, comes in later. Yeah. Roswell comes in a bit later, but I don't... Yeah. So there was that, which was neat to kind of see. We didn't see too much of that then. Later, it was very interesting. Yes, and then this is when he goes to Amelia's room and helps her out and confronts her and stuff, and then Puck talks to her afterwards, after he leaves, and says that he has to go.
Yeah, then he just
And he goes.
Undoes the contract.
Yeah.
Disappears.
And it gives Amelia all of her memories back, or slowly-ish. But yeah, because he's been hiding it.
Mm-hmm.
He's been holding them back for her, because she couldn't handle it. Oh yes, and then Garfield and Ryuzu were having a conversation about Subaru and Amelia, and Amelia asked Subaru to stay by her side, and he holds her hand, and then they kind of she asks him to stay while she sleeps because she doesn't want to be alone.
Yeah.
But then Amelia goes missing because Subaru wasn't there because he had to do some stuff because, well, yeah, he has to make sure this goes right. And then we go to the next episode. Oh god, there's so much. It's like Garfield encounters Otto, and Otto honestly does such a good job by himself to like stall him. Ram helps a bit, but like, holy shit, Otto does such a good job, and I'm like, you know what? I like you now. I like you now. You're a good guy. I like you now. You're not annoying. You're not just annoying now.
You also got his whole backstory, which explains his ability.
Yes.
Which,
which was cool to hear.
Yeah, he's essentially just reverse melee.
Yeah. Animals instead of mob beasts.
Yeah.
Cool.
Arguably less powerful, but I mean, whatever, he can speak to them.
Yeah.
Melee can't do that with hers.
The fact that he almost gets beat by Otto by himself was pretty funny, though. And then Subaru finds Amelia.
That's when they have their whole talk and everything.
Yeah. Yes, they have that whole talk, and oh my god, that conversation was just... That whole, like, conversation was very, like... To me, it was super sweet because of, like, you know how Subaru was, like, complaining about her, like, faults, and he's like, I don't give a shit, I still love you. Mm-hmm. And she didn't understand it and everything, but it was also very, like... It was very kind of heartbreaking to see them both fight like that again. Mm-hmm. Especially after the first time. But it was very reassuring, you know, when they, like, were okay with each other. Like, okay, yeah. Didn't expect to, like, you know, have that issue happen again. But it was... I've got to say, I've been enjoying the fact that they kind of have had these arguments, because it's not just like, oh, I love you, and she's like, okay, cool, I don't feel that way right now. and like, that's kind of it, you know, like, it's not something that, like, and like, he's always trying to help her and everything, and it's not something that, like, just kind of, they never have a fight until the last arc where they have a big fight, because why not? Like, it's not something generic like that where, you know, everything's fine. No. No, it's not. And I actually really like that. And this scene really showed that to me, because this is the one I really liked. Like, the first one was, really hard to see, but this one was kind of, I mean, it was more Amelia having trouble this time too, but rather than him. But, like, still, it's really good to see this. I really like this kind of development. And and then the kiss. And that was didn't expect that.
Yeah.
That was
should be noted, of course, touching. That this doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, they're dating or anything.
Yeah.
This is just him establishing his love, and then maybe at some point, you know, we'll get that. We probably will, but, you know. It is
basically him showing her that I don't care, I do love you still. Yeah. And at that point with the kiss, it was like, okay, it was fairly obvious. And then Garfield is waiting out front, and
they fight him.
Yeah, they fight him, quote unquote, and that was pretty neat to see that.
This is where you
just
see...
like, get screwed, Garfield. How dare you do that stuff?
Yeah, this is where Subaru uses his unseen hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he uses his witch factor thing that he got from Sloth. You get to see that the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was kind of neat, but it's shit.
Yeah.
Because he just gets, like, crappy versions, it seems. At least so far. And then I think we get Garfield's backstory first.
Yeah,
as well.
After that whole fight ends, especially because Pat Trash hit him.
Yeah.
He gets knocked out. He goes into the trial. He takes it again. We learn his backstory stuff.
Which is really, really nice to see.
Mm-hmm.
I actually really liked his backstory. It was just kind of like, it was him. I can't remember exactly how it went, but it seemed like it was him just trying to be strong and trying to just. Yeah, it was him like telling himself that his mother abandoned them, even though she actually didn't.
Yeah, she fucking died.
Yeah. He was so heartbroken by the death that he's like, no, she abandoned us.
Mm-hmm.
And it led to him becoming the way he was, which is crazy, but I mean, that does happen. It's just like, damn. And, yeah, his character just gets better at this point, and I honestly really love his character now because of it. And Subaru has a quick pep talk with Amelia, and then she goes to the trial.
Yeah, this is where her whole backstory starts.
Yeah, and oh boy,
Yeah.
Oh boy, oh boy.
I feel like you should be able to remember most of this.
Yeah, I do remember this.
Fair enough.
Oh, the whole thing with like.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. So. The whole thing with Petal Goose being there before he was, part of Sloth, and they were helping out the elves in the forest and everything, and just providing for them, and then like,
he had his factor,
yeah,
but it didn't mesh well with him, and he just kind of like had it there in his box.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he wasn't like Sloth yet, though.
Yeah, he wasn't proper like Sloth that we see later.
Yeah. But Fortuna was really nice.
Mm-hmm.
I liked her character. She was very content on like helping her village and taking care of Amelia, and Amelia had to like stay put in the room. She couldn't come out. She didn't understand why. There was just a whole bunch of shit. There wasn't like obviously too much at the beginning. It was more so just like all of that kind of happened.
Mm-hmm.
And Amelia, sneaking out and meeting spirits and stuff. But then later on, she meets Goose, and they're like playing. Fortuna, her, and Goose are playing, and then someone shows up, looking like his snarky ass self.
Yep.
The Archbishop agreed, and I'm just like, what are you doing here?
You get to see Regulus again.
Yep.
Why though?
But it wasn't just Regulus. There was somebody else behind him, and apparently she went by the Witch of Vanity, and I just looked at you, and I was like, huh?
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh yeah, you remember when I said 7? I meant 8.
And then, remember when I said 8? I meant 9.
Yeah, literally the next backstory is, remember when I said 8? I meant 9, so there's still other witches. / warlocks, because same thing. Didn't take that in until he said it, and I was like, oh yeah, they are pretty much the same. Right. But yeah, so that was something to see that, and I was just like, what the heck is going on? And she wanted like this key to find the box, and they had to kind of like use took the witch factor into himself, even though it wasn't a good match, so he could fight Regulus, and he still couldn't stand up to Regulus because Regulus is Regulus. But the Witch of Vanity was tired of his shit, and she just, like, tired of some of Regulus's shit, like, talking back. She just, like, I love how she plunked his head into his body into the ground, and his head was sticking out, like, what the fuck, man? And she just, like, didn't warp him. She overrode him somewhere else.
She overrode him being there and sent him back to the palace.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was something.
Yeah.
Learning all that was something, and then Amelia apparently had the key that she could see that for the box. That the Witch of Vanity was looking for, and she wanted
not the box, but the seal.
The seal, yeah, sorry. And she wanted her to open it. And like that whole thing about like she's the only one who could see it. Why is she the only one who could see it? Why does she have the key? Why does she just randomly can manifest the key? What the heck is happening? Mm-hmm. I had so many questions at this point, and I was just like, what is going on? I love it, but what's going on? And then the whole thing with her mother dying, and not her biological mother, which I'm also curious about what her parents are like, because they're not there. I don't know if they're dead. But who are her parents? Because is that important? Probably is. I don't know. I want to know. That was like another thing. And it was just like, what? Mm-hmm. And then the whole thing with like Vanity when she hit Use or touched him or whatever. She like obscured his vision.
That part.
And he fucking just threw his hand through Fortuna. Didn't mean to, and kind of went ballistic, and that's how he ended up cuckoo crazy, because Vanity was all like, you did it for love.
Well, no, I think it was, part of it might have been, I might be wrong on this, but I think part of it might have been her ability and everything, seeing as, she made herself, in a way, look like she was Amelia and all that. Mm-hmm. So she just simply did that, but reverse.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, so all that happened, and Amelia ended up being the one who like froze the forest over, which we'll get to on the OVA. But yeah, because the people she wants to save in the forest, I know that. Because I know she's mentioned that like early on in the anime. But yeah, all that happened. And like there was also the encounter with the black serpent when Amelia was running.
Yeah.
And somebody else.
I mean, that happens before.
Yeah, that happens before she gets to like the seal area, because then she gets called to the seal area because of the spirits. But the spirits it was just the Witch of Vanity. But yeah, so all that happens. She passes her trial, and then she passes the next two trials pretty easily. I'm not sure what else happens in between, but I think she just takes on the trial back to back, right? If I'm not mistaken.
You see the other scenarios. Third trial is weird because there's a bunch of voices, and there's also the future that we don't know if it's going to be correct or not, except I don't think it is, because I think it might have been confirmed that there'll be a happy ending or something. But
well, Subaru will probably loop if that's the future that happens. That's another thing.
It also depends on the scenario.
Yeah. So yeah, there's like all that. There's like the unthinkable present that she gets.
And then she meets Minerva, which isn't correct.
Yes.
Because it's supposed to be Sekhmet, and that is an important detail.
Why? I'm not sure.
There's a whole bunch of things, like... okay, one of the things I can't mention...
It's the Witch of Sloth who it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah. One of the things I can't mention, but one of them I can, which I think was on the notes, was... I believe Sekhmet actually talks about how somebody like Minerva or something didn't want to come for whatever reason. Like, she hesitated going to see Amelia and all that. On top of the fact that Sekhmet alludes to some features on Amelia being similar or some shit like that. So it's like, we don't know if that's secretly going to be what it is or something. Like, if that's who her mother is, whatever it may be. Yeah, I have no fucking clue, but there's like some alluding to shit there. So like some possible relation and all that.
Careful not to fall, sir.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's all that. And then after she's done those trials, the next two weren't like anything like crazy. She goes through. Then we hear the whole story about Roswell and Echidna and everything.
Yeah.
Yes. Now we hear about all that, and we meet the Warlock of Melancholy. So now there's 9. Woo! And we know nothing. Assuming he's still around too.
Yeah, presumably he's still around. Pandora's also probably around. They're probably both still around. I mean, fucking Goose was still around.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that was like Amelia's backstory though. So that was like 10 years prior some shit.
That was not 10 years prior. That was 100 years prior.
Because she froze over and froze herself.
Yes.
You're right.
Yeah,
I totally forgot about that part. Never mind. I forgot about that part. I thought right. During the actual thing, I thought it was like 30, 50 years or something.
She tries to make jokes later, being like, oh yeah, well technically I'm one of the oldest because I'm 100, and then everybody's like, no.
Okay, right. Yeah, so he's probably still around. But yeah, there was all that backstory. It was really cool to see, like, you know, Roswell just reincarnating repeatedly.
Yeah, I mean, that happens
just
way
like
later.
differently.
That happens way later, but yeah, that's one of the plots.
It's funny.
Points.
But it was cool to kind of see, like, you know, how they interacted all that time ago under Echidna, and everything seemed fine, and it wasn't, and the sanctuary was put up because of that warlock, and Echidna was fine, obviously, because she got killed by Zatella, like the other witches, but the other two didn't. I don't know.
Her soul's still alive, but yeah.
Yeah. All their souls are still alive because of where they are.
No,
it makes sense.
Specifically Echidna.
Oh, I assumed the others were too.
No, it's more so Echidna's soul is alive, but her body is dead.
Mm. Oh, okay.
Because one of the things that was in cut content was the whole how each of them fucking died.
Mm.
But like Echidna's not on that list from what I remember.
Ah, okay, gotcha. Oh, right, because I remember her whole process failed, which is probably why her soul is still alive.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, but it's weird because she was also killed.
It's likely why we have Omega.
Yeah. But yeah, so all that happened, and Amelia completes the trial. And apparently we find out Garfield can leave, because...
Yeah, it's very minimal, like, demi-human blood.
Yeah, that he's able to, like, leave the sanctuary, which is... interesting. So split people can't. So he goes back with Otto and Subaru to the mansion to save them, and Ryuzu liberates the sanctuary, if I'm not mistaken.
She's near the crystal and everything. Yeah, one of them's trying to work on that whole process, while one of them's trying to stop it, the others are stopping that one, trying to stop it, then there's the one who's there by the crystal.
True. Oh, no, wait, that doesn't happen until, like, right near the end, right?
Yeah, but, I mean, we've already mentioned shit near the end, so I mean,
yeah. And then, like, there's all this stuff there was, oh my god. Then there was the fights incoming, where, you know, they get to the mansion, and,
yeah, Garfield versus Elsa, Frederica versus Melee.
And Roswell's at Ryuzu's crystal, about to summon the snow, and Ram shows up. And with Puck, also. Also, can I say, I forgot about this, but, like, all the drawings on the wall after she woke up from the first trial of, like...
those were there before, like, when she went in. But,
oh, right, that's when she went in. Yeah, all those drawings on the wall from Subaru and Puck for, like, the motivation. That was great. I love that. I love that so much.
I'm upset because I remember I found on a website, because I don't know, I feel like I do need a new wallet. Mine, I'm not, like, super huge on. And I remember finding a, like, wallet that was like, oh, like an Amelia type of wallet. I'm like, oh cool, what does it look like? And it had the Lagunica symbol on the front, and I'm like, oh cool, but is that it, right? Because that's all it seemed like. It was just the Lagunica symbol on the front. And then I open it up, and as soon as I open it up, it's the fucking sanctuary, like, trial walls and everything with all the drawings and everything. I'm like, I need this. And it was sold out, sadly, but dude, as soon as it goes
That's
in stock...
amazing.
As soon as it goes in stock again, I'm grabbing that.
I love it. But yeah, so there was that. The fight started.
Yeah, those fights are good. I gotta give White Fox credit. Those fights are good. They may have cut out shit there, but those fights are good.
Those fights were really good.
Yeah, no,
the Frederica one didn't last too long. I know.
Yeah, no.
That one was kind of short, but that's fine. It's whatever.
Yeah, the Ram is like
the Ram versus Roswell one was very interesting, especially when Ram just confesses her love to Roswell, and he's like, "I'm the one who took your horn because I'm the one who sent those guys to your village and
he burned it down. He
burned it down and everything.
Yeah,
What do you mean you love me? You should hate me."
Yeah, no.
And she's like, "No, but I can't help loving you." And it was just like that's in a way this is very touching.
I think
and
I
heartbreaking.
think that moment's fine, but like, okay, here's the thing. A lot of people in the community complain about, or there's a lot of people I've noticed who complain about her it being like that. A lot of people like to say she has fucking Stockholm syndrome. At least I've seen that comment a lot. I've seen a lot of people saying Ram has Stockholm syndrome, and to a degree, I get why they're saying that, because yeah, a little bit weird to be in love with the person who fucking killed your people, and then after your whole fight with him, you're still in love with him and everything. It's like nothing's changed. A bit odd, but I do think it works and everything. It makes sense. She's loved him for this long and all that shit.
She spent so much time with him.
Yeah.
She even said, like, at first, yeah, she wanted...
It should be noted also,
like,
that it's because it's specifically, like, her. Like, she feels this way towards him. Because if I'm being real, if it was somebody like... and there's actually more on this later. Like, there's more on this whole Ram thing that will be mentioned, like, in later arcs and everything that makes it make more sense. That I sadly can't discuss, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But something I will say is this is something I've thought about before. I actually thought about it in the shower, and I was just like, oh man, I didn't think about that. But, like, the whole reason the situation works, the whole reason that this fight didn't end as badly as it could have in either direction was because it was specifically Ram who has had an affection towards Roswell with this. Because, if I'm being real, if this was fucking Rem in this scenario instead of her, there'd probably be an outburst.
Yeah, because
she'd probably go immediately for his throat, and one of them would end up dead. And it probably would be her. But yeah, it would probably be like that. Like, that would be a legitimate fight there.
Like, Rem makes a lot of sense to me in a way, because it's like, oh, well, that's really surprising, but at the same time, he's cared for her and had her under his wing for how long? Like,
Ram,
she was the...
Yeah.
Oh shit, yeah, I screwed up, sorry.
That's fine.
She was the one that he was like... He was healing, the spot where her horn got cut off. He was, like,
he was
treating her. He was speaking to her lots. He was using her... Not using her exactly. Well, kind of using her.
He was using her.
He was using her.
Yeah,
using her to, like, help him out, right? And she was she was all for it at one point because she fell in love with him because he was taking care of her, even though sure he did all that. Now he's taking care of her, and everything. And it just, to me, it's like, honestly, that's the only person that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody else makes sense.
Yeah.
Maybe Beatrice or Ryuzu, but, like...
Yeah, I will absolutely say, like, this makes sense.
Ram makes a lot of sense in the sense of, like...
It makes sense as this scenario and everything.
Turning one.
Doesn't mean I think of Roswell as a good person at all.
Yeah.
But, it definitely does work for this scenario and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
It's a different... Oh, sorry.
No, you can...
I was gonna say, it's a different, like, touch on... Like... There are different ways to kind of do people falling in love with each other. And I think this is it shocked me. I was like, wait, what? I like screamed a bit because I was confused.
Yeah.
It made sense, but I was confused because it's like after all that time, she hated him at first for a while. That's what she said. But then she slowly started to warm up to him. He was taking care of her so much. Like, how is she not supposed to, at least like being around him? Mm-hmm. And it didn't end up being that. It ended up being falling in love with him. Because it's like, as much as he did that stuff, she's over it.
Also, a very subtle thing to mention.
Maybe he's not. She is.
Very subtle
That's
thing.
also another thing she said.
A very subtle thing to mention that I feel like was 100% done on purpose. But if you notice, it's Ram in this scenario telling Roswell she loves him and all that and everything. And I think you
I just figured out what you're saying.
And the whole thing Roswell mentioned with Arc 4 is, like he's saying that Subaru's just like him and everything.
And Rem's the one who confessed to Subaru.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Oh my god. That makes this even better.
Yeah.
That makes this even better.
No, that was
Fuck
something
the haters.
That was something I noticed immediately as soon as the episode was done. I'm like, this is a reverse, or not reverse, but like quote unquote reverse. We're gonna be a little bit
somewhat
creative.
reverse.
We're gonna be a little bit creative with the word reverse, but it's like
it's the other side of it.
Yeah, this is the other side of episode 18. This is it right here.
Yeah, honestly, that's amazing. That's fucking amazing. But yeah, I'd like. This feels like a new spin, maybe not a new spin, but a very like not used approach of someone falling in love with someone else. Because I know I think I've seen it happen like this before, similarly in some way, but usually they don't do this. They do some other kind of thing where like either the person's just madly in love with them like from the get-go, or they just kind of end up falling in love together or whatever. But this is I like this kind of spin on it. It's different, especially since we already had a Rem just kind of fell in love with Subaru. I don't know how, Emilia's going to fall in love with Subaru, but Subaru was madly in love with Emilia from the get-go, so it's like, it's good not to kind of repeat that. Mm-hmm. And I think Rem was a good way of kind of doing it differently to how Subaru fell for Emilia, where he just fell right away. Rem, it kind of took time, and she just fell for him. But that's another thing, too. It took time. It fucking took time for both of them, it seems. Mm-hmm. Which is another kind of fitting for, like, both sides.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I just, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that shit is really fucking great. I was going to say something about it.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm just like, no, I really like it. I actually really like it.
Yeah, no, that shit is honestly really fucking great. I enjoyed it a lot.
Same.
I'm trying to remember what the other thing I was going to say was.
Fight was very interesting too.
Yeah,
that was a cool fight.
It is an unfair fight, and that's because technically Roswell is responsible for crippling her. Otherwise, it'd be an unfair fight, but in the opposite angle.
Yeah, if she wasn't crippled,
he'd be fucking. Yeah, no.
She'd probably be kicking his ass.
Yeah. Okay, while I try to remember what I was going to say, hopefully I remember.
Do I continue?
No. I'm going to mention something about this.
Okay.
Just because I feel like mentioning it. Part of what makes this shit so great to me, at least anime-wise, of course, and everything, is we get the vocal track here, we get the What You Don't Know and everything. And, I mentioned this before. I like all of the, VA tracks. I think pretty much all of them are good. One of them I'm like, I think it's just good, but most of them I'm like, yeah, no, all of them are pretty damn good. But this one, first of all, this one never fails to just queue up on my Spotify. I will hit shuffle play, and it is a playlist of 600 songs. And yet somehow within the first 10 it'll show up. I'm not putting it in there. I'm not specifically shuffling or adding it to the queue or anything like that. It just gets in there. So I mean, fuck. But I don't even mind it. Because it's probably my favorite out of all of them. I really fucking like that vocal track. And it works fantastic for that episode. I think part of the reason I really like it is it doesn't feel like... I'm going to say it doesn't feel like the other vocal tracks that are very clearly like, here's this emotional talking moment. That vocal track feels like emotional talking moment. Also, there's a fight going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really fucking love that one. That one's probably my favorite out of all, like, I think 4 of them. I think there's 4 of them currently. Yeah. Yeah, overall, that fight's fucking great. And now we're gonna go to the other fight that I
Which
would...
is personally my favorite.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Like, I'm... You know what? It might be my favorite in the series so far.
Fair enough.
Like, I actually thoroughly loved Garf and Elsa fighting.
Yeah, Elsa
like
and Garfield
that,
fighting is...
Elsa.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's fine. Yeah, no, that fight is really fucking... Like, I gotta give him credit. It's really well animated. I also like how it ends way more than it, like, in the light novel and web novel. Because for those curious who haven't seen the non-anime shit, that fight ends because Elsa just gets essentially, like...
Ow.
I'm pretty sure she just gets incinerated. Like, she comes back to life, but, like, not really. She's like a zombie almost with the, like, sole intent to kill, and then just gets burned. And that's how that fight ends. I like it better with the rock piggy, which is fucking hippo.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
The world's smartest 8-year-old. But yeah, I like it better with Garfield picking that up and throwing at her. Yes, it's funny. I actually remember a good friend of mine. I was watching it with him and everything. And, you know, he was really enjoying the fight. He also really fucking liked the shit that Elsa said that I shouldn't bring up. Because from what I understand, the line in the anime was changed from the light novel and, like, web novel and all that. Where in the novel, Elsa pretty much knows she's gonna die, is, like, kind of what the implication is with her line. Whereas the anime, it just seems like, oh, she's gonna kill Garfield, and then she'll love him and all that. The line in the other one, I think, if I remember correctly, just implies, yeah, I know I'm gonna die in this fight. So there's that.
But yeah, that fight, like, I loved it. Watching that fight, that was like, it didn't seem like it was too one-sided, but it was also like, and like with Elsa, you know, regenerating, because she's a vampire.
Regenerating, and also the fucking cloak she has.
Yeah.
From what I understand, and it makes sense when you when you take into fact of the Beatrice stuff and everything, like what happened with Beatrice on that one loop. From what I remember reading, because I don't think they ever actually explain it. I just think, like, if I remember correctly, I saw some details on it. But I think the cloak allows her to survive, like, at least one fatal blow, and then it, like, disappears. If I remember correctly, it's something like that. I could be totally fucking wrong on that, but if I remember correctly, that's what it is. So that's why she survives Beatrice's attack in that one loop. That's why Garfield knocks half of her face off, and she's fine afterwards. Not just because she's regenerating, but also the fact that, like, that counts as a fatal blow. That would fucking kill you.
Yeah, I was shocked she didn't die from that one. I was like, damn, how good is her regeneration? Well, now that makes more sense.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Dog.
Miss Papado. But yeah, that fight was just all kinds of awesome. I fucking loved it.
Yeah. No,
Definitely my favorite fight in the series so far, I think. I'm pretty certain. It was just the whole animation of it all. Like,
the animation's
the whole
insane.
thing that happened, like everything that just happened, like back and forth between the two, and like the intensity of both. I think that's part of it, is like the intensity of, like, at this point you've seen how intense both of them can be. Elsa from the first arc and Garfield from, you know,
the rest of Arc 4.
the first part of Arc 4, with how, like, crazy powerful he is and everything. Like, that was nuts.
Yeah.
Like, it was just that intensity of both of them, I feel like, really pumped the fight up more. And, like, just the whole animation was really good, and I love the ending. The ending, just her getting squished by the freaking hippo thing. That was, yeah.
A lot of people talk shit on the Arc 4 animation, and you know what? I'll join them in. I'll join in with them sometimes, depending on what it is. But I see people like complaining about the last few episodes and stuff because it's like, oh, they animated the like. They for whatever reason put a super amount of effort into the scene where Amelia's talking to Super about the non-existent baby in her stomach and all that, or like in her womb and all that, and it's like,
oh yeah, I found that hilarious.
Yeah, but like people talk about how the animation there is like insanely good, but like the rest of Arc 4 and all this, and it's like, listen, I get it. There are some really bad moments, like that one Echidna face that I brought up before.
Oh, yes.
That's actually on the shirt that I now own. Spoilers for that shirt. Actually, I was gonna wear it for the Arc 4 review, but I guess you all know about it now. You'll see it when we get there. But yeah, no, this fight to me is like, this is just like, no, they kind of know when to put in effort. Like they know that, like, okay, this is a big fight. Shove in all the effort we can. And that fight looks absolutely fantastic. I loved it. So much so to the point that I just set my like profile pic to like I think a frame of that fight or something, or like something along those lines, just for like few months, because I was like so happy after that.
Yeah, that fight was beautiful.
Yeah, it's
like,
really good. Also,
holy
one thing I was gonna say, because I was mentioning my like good friend watching it and everything, I forgot about that. So yeah, he was watching it and everything. He also really liked the fight, and he actually liked Elsa's whole thing and everything. Like talking to Garfield about love and all that. Right, now I remember the whole thing I was gonna say about love. I'll say it after this. Yeah, and he was really enjoying that. He oddly made a comparison, and I haven't actually gone into like reading the series and everything. He was making a comparison to, like, he was saying like, oh, like I really enjoyed Chainsaw Man because there's these like it shows this perfect example of fake love and like real love and all that, and it's like you see this proper blend and all that. And that actually got me really interested. I was like, oh shit.
Now I'm interested.
Well, yeah, like, I planned on reading it at some point, but after hearing him say that, I'm like, fuck, okay, I gotta get to it sooner. So I probably will get to it soon, because I'm still technically... Once I get done my next review, I'm going on that big break that I mentioned. Like, I just want to take a break from the series. Obviously, you know, whatever it may be, anime type of reaction type of thing, whatever side content I decide to do, I can do the side content. If I feel like I've got a theory idea, I'll make a theory idea. It's just like reading the series, reviewing it, all that. It's gonna go on break for a while, at some point soon, and maybe I'll like, you know, read it during that. I got stuff to read, I got shit to watch. I'm gonna get nowhere if I keep going through this series, especially the stuff I already know. But anyways, yeah. So he was really enjoying that for fuck. I'm tired, okay? He was really enjoying that fight. Battle.
Battle! No. Okay.
But he was really enjoying that and everything. But we had to pause it because he got into a burst of laughter because, you know, it's like Garfield picks up the whole rock piggy and throws it at her. And then, like, you know, she does the whole, like, oh, how wonderful and all that. And she gets squished. And his immediate reaction was he's like, pause it. Like, he was laughing while saying that. He's like, pause it. And I'm like, what's wrong? And he's like, the sound effects, her body fucking crumpling. He's like, listen, I like how she died. But, oh my god, both of those things combined.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it's a bit funny. But I actually did discuss it with another good friend of mine who's also, like, pretty much, he's more caught up than me, but, and that's only because I have, like, 8 chapters to read or something. But yeah, I discussed it with him, and we came to the conclusion of, like, yeah, while the anime did decide to change the end of that fight, it's way better with how they decided to change it. Also, I remember what I was going to say about love, because I was going to mention this with the whole Ram thing. One thing I do absolutely love with this series, but one thing I absolutely love is, okay, enough. It's the fact that, like, there's no greater message that the series is trying to tell, because Tepe has mentioned in interviews, people have been like, oh, what message do you want to give your audience out of this whole thing? And he's like, oh, I don't want to give them a message. I just want like them to read this whole story and think, man, that was a neat story, wasn't it? Right? And it's like, honestly, I can't even like complain about his logic there, because it's like, yeah, no, tons of stories are like that. You don't have to get some greater meaning from shit.
Yeah.
You can just enjoy a story because it was a good story.
Yeah, exactly.
But one thing I really like that he does do is that it's very clearly each character in this series has their own view of love and their own make of it, whatever you want to call it, right? And I really fucking love that. It's especially great with the archbishops. The archbishops really like shove it in there, and everything. And I mean, you know, right now we've only really seen one, but you'll see more of them later. You know, the main characters, you get to see some of that there, all this shit, right? I do like that is a very big focus on this series, which is fitting almost. My top two series are about the stars and also love. Odd how connected they are. But yeah, and I mean, then again, ReZero actually does later on make some Fist of the North Star references, so hey. But yeah, overall that fight's great. Let's continue, because I'm getting...
Yeah, we're over 2 hours at this point.
Yeah, which is fine. I expected that.
Yeah. No, you expected that with talking with the OVAs as well.
Yeah, but I expected it for this because we had a lot to say about Arc 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Choose me time. Choose me time. Beatrice time. Choose me.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, that fight, best fight. Easy. Easy so far. Yeah, Beatrice. That whole thing after all that with Beatrice, where Subaru is going through the mansion, like trying to find her, and she, it's so heartbreaking. Like, she's just crying, wanting him to just say, "Tell me that you're that person, and I will just come with you." And he's like, "I don't want to say that. I don't want to lie to you like that. I'm not that person. I'm sorry, but I need you to come with me anyways. This place is gonna burn down."
Yeah, and he gives it a proper, like, heartfelt speech and everything.
Yeah. She of course kicks him out once, and then he has to run through and try to find her again. But then he gives her a heartfelt speech. The place is like right about done burning down, and she's like, okay, you got me with your heartfelt speech, and that speech was beautiful.
Yeah, and now
that was awesome. And then she takes him. Yeah, I realized what I messed up on with the Ryuzu thing, where it falls into place, because it's after. It's after this. She goes with him to the sanctuary, and Amelia is trying to fend off the White Rabbit. And like all the people are in the sanctuary because, well, at this point they can step foot in there because the trials were passed. It just has to be liberated. Like, now the barrier just has to come down.
Which, I mean, it did by this point.
It did? I thought... Doesn't Beatrice talk to her before she goes?
No, Amelia fucking punches the grave after she takes the third trial. And then she goes to the crystal, and then they undo the crystal. And that's where the Omega thing happens.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
okay.
That's before this and all that.
Oh, but then... Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Where was I? Oh, yeah, and then Beatrice shows up and with Subaru, and they handle it from here. Beatrice expends so much power, though.
Yeah.
On this.
They're just, like, they're fucked at the... Well, not fucked, but, like... Yeah, they gotta make their way back up again.
Yeah. And she sends the white... What?
I just remembered also, she sent the White Rabbit, the Great Rabbit, whatever the fuck, away. Something to mention, though, that I forgot, that did happen earlier when Subaru was fighting Garfield, and this is important because of this shit with Beatrice, is the fact that Subaru's gate is now broken.
Yes.
And of course, if he can't he can't dispel his mana to Beatrice within a certain amount of time, he'll just fucking die. Which is, like, the whole thing that's a problem.
But yeah, she does that. She gets rid of the White Rabbit, and then like everybody's safe now. Sanctuary's liberated, mansion's good. White Rabbit's gone, and two of them are gone. Two of the great mob beasts are gone.
Yeah, and then they'll punch Roswell and then get him to apologize. And
Yeah, and then I learned about the pact. We learned about the pact thing as well, where if Subaru did fail, that would be on him.
Yeah, if he did fail, he'd have to go through what Roswell said, and if he tried to disagree, he would get fucking killed to the point that his soul also might just be in like limbo. Or some shit like that, or like his soul might also get fucking destroyed.
So return by death might have not worked.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, though. So Roswell can't disobey him at all, or, well, he dies. But if Subaru dies, Roswell comes back. So it's like, it really would only affect Subaru in that sense. Which is crazy to think about.
Like, essentially the whole pact, like, for Roswell means, like, he's gonna go for the plan he makes of, hey, I'll kill everybody if somebody dies. But the whole thing
somebody important, right?
Yeah, it's like, well, yeah, like somebody he's trying to keep safe and everything and all that. But the whole thing is, it's like, it does mean, though, that he's not gonna, like, run off and be like, I'm gonna go do this plan. It's like, he can't now.
Yeah.
Because as soon as he does that, he's dead. And it's like, well, there's no guarantee that Subaru loops at that point.
Mm-hmm. No guarantee that Subaru's gonna say, yeah, fuck it. Like, I don't want to bring you back.
Yeah.
Even though he's powerful. I do... But yeah, there was all of that. And then there was the whole thing with, like, the baby scene. That was freaking hilarious. I loved it. It was so funny. Oh, and then there was the scene where they were at the baby scene, like, we kissed. We gotta talk about the baby in my belly. That's how it worked. That's what Puck told me. What? God damn, Puck. That was so funny.
This one.
And then, there we go. Oh yes, and then Beatrice and Roswell have a discussion as well at the grave.
Mm-hmm.
And like, Beatrice realizes that, Roswell succeeded, and he has been swapping between bodies for generations. And he's, he is that same Roswell that Beatrice knew. So Beatrice was very happy about that, I know. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of touching in a way to see, like, oh, okay, well, these two are at least still together.
Yeah.
Oh,
right, this is where they are supposed to say the whole Marley thing. Like, the whole thing that Marley wasn't, contracted for this shit. For the whole, like, attacking the mansion.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's where they're supposed to say that. So weird. I thought, for whatever reason, I thought Beatrice had to go say bye to Ryuzu.
No.
Okay, it was probably what it probably was Ryuzu Shima and Ryuzu Mayor, and that was a touching scene. Mm-hmm. That's probably who it was then. Like, one saying bye to the other, like, here, don't worry, I'll fix it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it might have been her saying bye to Beatrice in the flashback that you're thinking of.
Oh, that's definitely what I'm thinking of. My bad. Yeah. My bad, guys. That's what I'm thinking of.
About it.
But that was a really touching one.
Other
than that, it was the whole ceremony.
Yeah, and I mean,
where Amelia cuts his head off. Oh no, he looped.
No. Yeah, we were making that joke and everything.
I mean, it was funny. The joke was funny, but
no,
if he doesn't actually do that, he's actually officially her knight now, which is really cool. And I'm very interested to see like where it goes from here.
It should be noted, but he is a unique knight because he's a spirit user knight, which you could say, but Julius is. He's a lesser spirit user. Subaru is a proper, like, actual, full-blown great spirit user knight, so it actually does make him unique compared to the other three.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because of, like, what he can do by return by death or something, or?
No, I just said he's a great spirit user.
Oh wait, like he was given the. Oh, like he can.
Julius is a lesser spirit user, the small ones, the balls.
Oh yes, yes. Oh. Okay, got it. Sorry, it took me a second to realize that. Okay, that's really cool though.
Yeah.
So now he kind of has at least something, a little
Yeah.
more than like his. He's been getting things here and there.
Also does have a lot of fucking titles to him of like, because at this point they have a lot of like, okay, part of his title is like they obviously know he killed or he's like, he helped with the white whale.
Mm-hmm.
He's responsible for Sloth's death essentially. They don't know that the the white rabbit the great rabbit is dead, but it was mentioned. And they have not seen the Great Rabbit since, so they're just like, yeah, they probably did it. So now he has a lot of fucking titles under his belt.
Which is cool. Especially for someone who's like basically mostly powerless.
Yeah. But then, other than all that, the only thing we got left, which the anime didn't cover necessarily, they did kinda, but that's Omega. And it's like, oh boy, Echidna's back. What's she gonna do? Who fucking knows?
Oh yeah, because the thing worked, right? Because
Yeah, it actually worked
Roswell got it working, so yeah. You told me about that. So there's that, which we're probably gonna get at the beginning of the next season itself, if we're talking anime wise, like right at the beginning. But yeah, that was Arc 4, and that was a lot to cover. And I just thoroughly loved everything. I loved how much story we got, how much backstory, the character development, the fights when we got to them, and the loops. As I said, I felt they were super good. Like, they were very consistent on being different, still samey, but not boring, and just super good throughout. And, like, building, but again, not slow. And it was like, what the hell? This was really good. And it's kind of why right now, like, this arc is my favorite, because of all that. Like, it was just so much.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay, well, I guess that's it. Because we finished finally.
I guess we'll save all the other stuff we have to for the third part, so thank you all for joining us. And yeah, we'll be back with part 3.